Student ID, what we have is we have the names of the students, which location these students belong to, that is location. And we have a student from Pan India, we have it from Delhi, Noida, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Chennai. So we have the different locations. What was their joining date? So most of the students have joined in the year of 2018. So you will find the data of 2nd April, then 3rd April. So similarly, April, May, and June 2018 is what the joining date. And on that day, which was the day for that, whether it was a Monday or a Tuesday. So that is what we have. Apart from that, what else we have in this data? Each year, we have two semesters, semester one and semester two. And you can see here, each semester is again divided into two examinations. So you can see semester one, first exam, semester one, second exam. Now, similarly, second semester, first exam, and second semester, second exam. And how much these students have scored out of 50. So these all scores we have is out of 50. So if I talk about the first student, whose student ID is ST-4 times 01, the name of our student is Ravi, and in the four examinations, he has scored 48, 27, 21, and 18 out of 50. I request everyone, I request everyone to please, keep yourself mute. Please click on mute, everyone. There's a lot of background noise. Anyway, let me share my screen again. Where is that Excel file? So I'm back to my Excel file, and you can see here what is the scores these students have scored, and this is out of 50. So this is what the data we have as of now. So I'll quickly tell you what all we have in our data. We are working on a data sheet here. On the data sheet, we have a student IDs, the names of the students, their locations, their joining date, their day of joining, and how much they have scored in four examinations. And these scores are out of 50. Now, after this examination individual scores, what initially we are looking for is the total score. So when I say I'm looking for a total score, that means we are looking for the sum of these four numbers, right? So I'm looking for a sum wherein I can see the sum of all the four examinations. Now in Excel, you have lot of functions. And initially when we are looking for a sum, so we will go for a sum function. So I'll type is equal to. So whenever in Excel you want to use any function, so initially you have to type is equal to, then you may type the name of the function, which is sum. After typing a sum, you can press the tab key to activate the function. And now you can see here, this is asking you number one, number two, number three, number four. So this is basically asking you the range of those cells which you want to add. So we want to select this range, which is F2 to I2, wherein we have the performance of all the four semesters. You can see here the range is F2 to I2. Now you don't have to close the bracket. You can simply press enter and you will be able to see a total score here 114. When I come to this cell 114, at the top you can see a formula bar here. In this formula bar, you can see the sum function and the range which we have applied is F2 to I2. Now in this entire J column, we are looking for the sum, but every time, for the first time, we have taken the range F2 to I2. Again, I need a sum function, but this time the range should be F3 to I3, similarly F4 to I4. So what I can do is I can simply copy the function down and Excel will automatically change the cell numbers. So how to copy it down? The best way is you can place your cursor in the bottom right corner of the cell When you will get this plus sign, you can simply double click here and this will automatically copy till the bottom. And now you can see here for 114, the range was F2 to I2. For 107, you can see here the range has automatically shifted to F3 to I3, F4 to I4, and F5 to I5, which means you have to write the function one time. You can drag it down, and Excel will automatically change the cell numbers for you. Now, once I have done it, you can see here, this is showing me a notification here. And if I go to this notification, this is showing me formula omit adjacent cell. So this is showing me a warning that, when you're using a sum function, you are not, you have only taken this range, but there are more numbers which can also get added, which are the adjacent numbers. Now, if I see the adjacent data, here we have a date, but whether it's a number or it's a date, Excel treat everything as a number in the background. So for Excel, the 2nd April 2018 is also a number, and this is showing you a warning that you're not
ये
including
ना
this.
कैसे बंद
Now
होता कैमरा?
we are deliberately
मेरा
not including
फोटो
this.
आ रही है.
So what will I do? I'll simply go here and I'll say ignore error, and the error has been ignored. But this we have done it for one cell. We want to do it for the entire column. So let me do one thing. Let me undo this. Let me select all the cells. And when all the cells are selected, then you can simply go here and then you can say ignore error. So that error will be ignored for the entire column. I'm getting a message your screen is still visible to others or screen is not visible. So as of now, I have done a stop sharing for a minute. Let me present now again. And now again, I'm showing you the Excel sheet. Are you all able to see my Excel sheet? One of you type a message, yes or no. Okay, I got the message, yes. Now, once I'm there at my Excel sheet, and once we have applied the sum function here, in the next data, next column K, what we are looking for is we are looking for the average score of all the 4 semesters, right? So initially what we have done is in J column, we have applied the sum function, but in average, in column K, instead of a sum function, what we need is we need an average function. So is equal to function name is average. Now even after typing few letters, you can select the right function by pressing a tab key. And now again you have to select the range. So range is the same range which is F2 to I2. This is the same range. Average function, range is correct. Press enter and you will be able to see an average, which is 28.5 is the average for the first student out out of these 4 examinations. And if I double click in the bottom right corner, so you will be able to see the average of all. Now, when the entire data is selected, let me simply go here and I'll say ignore error. That error has been ignored. And now if I see an average, you can see somewhere you have this is an average called 40, but somewhere you have average 31.5 and somewhere you have average 22.75, which means somewhere you do not have a decimal value, somewhere you have a one decimal value, and somewhere you have two decimal value. So when the entire data is selected, let me go to my home tab, and here you can see we have these two options: increase decimal value or decrease decimal value. Let me click on decrease, so that now I do not have a decimal value. Now let me click on increase twice, so that everywhere I can see a two decimal values. And now we have successfully applied two Excel functions. One is a sum function, second is average function. If I go back to this 114, now if I press shift control down, the moment you press shift control down, This will select the entire range. Now, because this range has all the numbers, so at the bottom, you can also see what is the total sum of it, which is 24,936. You can also see here what is the average total of this. What you can also see what is the minimum total of this and what is the maximum total of this. So what is the maximum total? 178, and these scores are out of 200 because 50 is for one exam. So total score we have it out of 200, out of which the maximum scorecard we have is 178. What is the minimum total? 66. What is the average total? 117. So once we know all these figures, what I want here, we have a column called status. So I assume that the passing criteria is 60%. I assume that passing criteria is 60%. So 60% out of 200 is 120. So all those students who have scored more than 120, their status we have to display as a pass. And all the students who have scored less than 120, their status we want to display as a fail. So in a status here, we want to display whether the student is a pass or the student is fail on the basis of their total score. So here we have a condition and we have to check what is the condition. Condition is we have to check what is the performance of each student, whether the performance is more than 120 or not. So whenever we have a condition, we always use if function. Whenever we have a condition, we always use a if function. Now you can see here, if function requires three arguments. Logical test, that means the condition which you want to define, comma value if true, comma value if false. So what should be the value if the condition will be true, comma what should be the value if the condition will be false. So what is my condition? My condition is total score is this more than 120. If J2 is greater than 120, comma. After every argument, you have to put a comma. Now value if true, comma value if false. So what should be the value if the condition is true, comma what should be the value if this condition is false. So if it's true, that means the performance is more than 120. So what we want to display? Pass. Else what we want to display? Fail. Now pass and fail is a text output. So whenever we have a text output, that we always put it in double quotes. So in double quotes, I'll type pass, comma, in double quotes, I'll type fail. So if the score is more than 120, if the condition is true, so value if true is pass and value if false is fail. Now, if you want, you can also put it greater than equal to, so that if the performance is exactly equal to 120, then also the student should be pass, else the student should be fail. But if I don't put equal to here, in that case, what will happen? If the performance is exactly equal to 120, so that will go to the false. So you can decide what should be the value if the condition is true and what should be the value if the condition is false. Now, because pass and fail is a text output, so we have put them in double quotes. Instead of pass and fail, let's say I need numbers 10,000, 20,000. Now, or 10, 20, 100, 200. Those are numbers. So when you have an output as a number, then you don't need a double quotes. Then you can simply type 100, 200 or 10, 20. And once we have applied this function, let me press enter. First student is failed because the performance is less than 120. Second one will also be failed, but third one will be pass because this is more than 120. And fourth one will be again fail. Fifth one will again be pass. So let me double click in the bottom right corner, and now you can see second is fail, third is pass more than 120, fifth one is also pass more than 120, seventh is also pass 122. Wherever the performance is either 120 or more than 120. They all will be pass, rest all will be fail. So till now we have shown you three functions. One is sum, second is average, and third is if function. Now we know that passing criteria is 60%. So more than 120 is pass. So 126 is also pass, and 160 is also pass. But what I want, yes,
Excuse me, sir. Sir, screen is not
which
visible.
screen is not visible? Excel sheet. Is
Yeah, yeah.
everyone facing this issue, or this is being faced by only one?
Just see the chat box and just pin the screen where you see the small screen of Excel. You see the message, just do yes. Everyone will be able to see.
Everyone is saying is this is visible, but Gagan is saying it's not
Yeah.
visible. How this is possible?
So many people are saying that the screen is not visible.
Now, Suman Rawat, just click the pin the screen of Jatin. Then automatically be able to see. Now let us start, Jatin.
Now, if you see, now if I click on, sure.
Just again click and then people will be able to see.
Now, what? Now is the Excel sheet visible to everyone?
Yes, here we can. Yeah, everyone, you can see it. Now, yes.
Okay. So at any point of time, you have this issue again that you're not able to see the Excel sheet. Immediately let me know. So
Yes,
here we
Jatin.
have, okay. So here we have applied the if function, and now you can see third student is pass. This is 126, and fifth student is also pass 160. But I understand this student number 3 and student number 5, they both are passed. One of them have scored 126 and one of them have scored 160. But what I want within pass also, at what level they are passed. So as of now, I understand both are pass, 3 and 5, but one has scored 126 and second one has scored 160. So I want further break up that within pass at what level they have. So what level they have achieved. That is why we have a next column called the rating. So within pass, what rating they have achieved, and within fail, what rating they have achieved. That rating we want to display here. What is my guideline for this? Earlier, we were having a single condition. What was that single condition? If the score is more than 60%, student should be pass, else the student should be fail. But here what I'm saying, if the total score is less than 50, if the total score is less than 50, so the rating should be C. If the scores are in between 50 to 100, then the rating should be B, which means within fail, I'll be having two ratings, C and B. Now, if it's more than, let's say, or I'll say, less than 50, I want C, then from 50 to 120, which is 60%, right? The rating should be B. 120 to 150, rating should be B plus. 150 to 175, rating should be A. And if student have scored more than 175, rating should be A plus. So how many conditions I have? 5 conditions. Earlier, how many condition I was having? Only one condition. When you were having one condition, you applied one time if function. Now you have 5 conditions, so you will apply 5 time if function. Now before setting this criteria, let me again come back to my total score for a minute. Shift control down, and I can see what is the minimum total, 66. What is the maximum total, 178. So accordingly I'll set the conditions. So Let me come to ratings now. Let me increase the width of my column. Is equal to if function. If function, not here at the top, cell number M2 is equal to if function. If the total score is less than 50, now it's up to you whether you want less than 50 or you want to write less than equal to 50. If it less than 50, comma, value if true, if this condition is true, what we want to display? We want to display C, because C is also a text, so I have put that in a double quotes, comma, value if false. So what should be the value if this condition is false? So if this condition is false, that means the value is more than 50. So now what I'm doing, I'm checking the second condition in the false part. What is the second condition? If J2 is less than 120, comma, value if true. So what should be the value if this condition is true? It should be B, comma, value if false. So what should be the value if this condition is also false? So if this is false, that means I want to check here the third condition, again if function. If J2 is less than 150, if this condition is true, we want to display B plus. Again comma. If this condition is false, again if function. If J2 is less than 175, comma, if this condition is true, we want to display A, comma, value if false. If this is also false, that means the value is more than 175. So if the value is more than 175, it should be simply A plus. I'm not putting one more if function for this case. If this condition is false, it should be simply A plus. Now understand, the execution of this function is left to right. So this is when this is left to right. So first it will check the first condition. If J2 is less than 50, if the condition is true, it will display C and the function will terminate there only. But if this condition is false, that means the value is more than 50. So if it's more than 50, now when I'm saying if J2 is less than 120, which means we are coming to the second condition only when the first condition is false, which means the value is more than 50 and now you're checking less than 120. So Excel is automatically making a range. What is that range? Value is more than 50 and less than 120. In that case, what should be the output? B. If the condition is true, it will display B and the function will terminate there only. But if this condition is false, that means the value is more than 120 and less than 150, I want B plus. If this is false, value is more than 150 and less than 175, we want A. If this is false, so if the value is more than 175, I simply want A plus. Now how many brackets we have opened? 1, 2, 3, 4. One option is you can put 4 closing brackets here manually, or the second option, you can just press enter. Excel will show you a warning that you are not putting a closing bracket. Do you want to correct this? Click on yes, and Excel will put all the closing bracket for you and you will get the correct output. You can see here you have got the brackets in a formula bar, and here the output is B. Why this is B? Because this is more than 50 and less than 120. This is also B, but this 126, this will be B plus. 160 will be A. Let me copy it down. See here, this is B plus because 120 to 150, and this is why A. This is 150 to 175. And if I'll be having more than 175, that will go to A plus. So this time we have applied multiple if functions, and earlier we applied a single if function. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. After covering these four functions, we know which students are pass, which students are fail, and if they are fail, at what rating they are, and similarly, if they are pass, at what rating they are passed. After this, what we need is last year's score. Now we would also like to know what was their total score in the last year. So we know the score for the current year. We would also like to know what was their score in the last year, so that later on we can calculate the growth. And that growth may be a positive growth, it may be a negative growth. Now, if I see my data here, so these students have joined in 2018. So when I say the current year total score, which means this is a data for 2019 to 20. And when I say the last year, that means I'm referring to 2018 to 19. So I know the data for the current year. Now we would also like to know what was their score in the last year. As you all know that currently we are working on a data sheet. After data sheet, we have a reference sheet. If I go to reference sheet, here you can see the student IDs and their scores for the last year. Or you also have one more data on the right where you can see the student IDs, their last year score, and last year the semester wise score as well. So either I can use the first table or I can use the second table. But for that, I have to see the student ID. So if I go to data sheet, I need it for the first student. What is the student ID? This is a student ID. Let me copy the student ID from here. Let me go to my reference sheet. Let me select this entire data. Now here I want to search that student ID. Control F find, Control V paste. You can see the student IDs here. Find next. You can see here that student ID is here in row number 52. Let me close this. So for this student ID number 1, last year's score was 136. Let me copy 136 from here. Let me go back to data sheet, and here I want to paste this 136. Means for the first student, last year performance was 136. This year performance is 114. That means the growth is a negative growth. But this 136, I have searched there, and from there, I have pasted that data here. That I can do it when I have to do it for one student. But we have how many students? We have 213 students. Now doing a search like this is not possible for 213 students, because if I do that, so that will take the entire one day. So what I need is the student ID, which we have it here, A2. The value of A2 we want to search in this table, and wherever that student ID will get match, against that match I want to pick the last year score. So whenever you want to search a student ID or any value within a table, and against that match you want to pick an output, in that case we have two functions. One is called VLOOKUP and second is called HLOOKUP. VLOOKUP means vertical lookup, top to bottom. HLOOKUP means horizontal lookup, left to right. If you see this data is vertically arranged, right? So on this table, I will apply which function? VLOOKUP. Now, before applying VLOOKUP, you also have to understand one more thing. If I talk about this data, how many columns we have? We have 6 columns here. Whenever I'll select this range, what VLOOKUP will do, VLOOKUP will search this student ID, cell number A2, on the reference sheet in the range J2 to O2, but VLOOKUP will search that student ID only in the first column of the table. And we already have the student ID in the first column. So VLOOKUP will start searching that student ID in the first column in the order of top to bottom. So it will start searching where we have that student ID in the first column from top to bottom, and wherever that will get match, then I'll say against that match we need the output from the last column, that is which column number of the table, 1 2 3 4 5 6, that is the sixth column of the table, which is my output column number, right? Which also means if the student ID are not available in the first column, so you have to ensure that the matching value must be there in the first column of the table. So if that student ID is not in the first column, let's say that is there after the last year's score. So first you may have to do a rearrangement so that the matching value should be there in the first column. And second thing, the output column which we have, that should always be on the right hand side. That should never be on the left hand side. So output column is already on the right hand side and the student IDs are by default in the first column only. So I can simply go for a VLOOKUP now. Let me go to my data sheet. And here for 18, 19, when I need a data, let me open VLOOKUP function here. Now VLOOKUP function requires 4 arguments. First is lookup value, value which you want to look up, value which you want to search. What you want to search? We want to search student ID. So that student ID, we have it here on the left hand side, which is cell number A2. This is my student ID. After selecting this, you may click on the formula bar. That will show you the complete arguments again. So lookup value, we have specified the lookup value, comma. Now this is asking you table array. Table array is that entire table where you want to search the student ID and from where you want to pick the output. And as you know that table is available on the reference sheet. So after putting a comma, let me go to my reference sheet, and here let me select this entire data, which is column J and till column O. Now because this table is available on a different sheet, you can also see the name of the sheet here in the formula bar. After this, again I'll put a comma. Now I will not go back to the previous sheet. I will continue my function here only. Now this is asking you, once you have selected the table, column index number. So from which column number of the table you want to take the output. So you have selected this table. Within this table, which is the output column number, 1 2 3 4 5 6, we want to pick the last year score. Last year score is the sixth column of the table, and VLOOKUP will search the student ID in the first column. Wherever that ID will get matched, so it will pick the value from the sixth column, comma, the last option. What kind of a match you want, whether you want an approximate match or you want an exact match. Now because we are using a VLOOKUP and VLOOKUP is searching the value of A2 in the column number 1 in the sequence of top to bottom. So what you want, whether that student ID 1 should get exact match with student ID 1, or you are also okay with the closest match, and the closest match may be ID number 11 or ID number 111. We want that ID number 1 should get exactly match with student ID number 1 only, because IDs are unique. So whenever we work on a unique data, we always go for an exact match. So for exact match, either you can type here false, or you can also write 0. So 0 or false is one and the same thing. And now once we have done this, let me press enter. And now you can see here, you have got this 136. 136 is the matching value from the sixth column of this table. So if 136 is the score, For the last year for the first student, let me also see what is the score of other students. You can see here 89. So last year student ID 2, it was at 89. This year he has gone to 107. Though the student is still failed, but the performance is up from 89% has moved to 107. And now you can see here you have got the data for all the students for the last year. Now I can see here at the bottom, I can see lot of hash NA. So hash NA VLOOKUP show you only in that case where there is no matching data in that table. So this is showing me a hash NA for all these students starting from here. So if I go here, what is the student ID? 176. So from ID number 176, I am getting every time hash NA, right? So why I'm getting this hash NA? Let me go to my reference sheet, and here let me go to the student ID first. Shift control down. I've selected the range. Now you can see at the bottom, count is equal to 175. So on a reference sheet, you have a data only for 175 IDs. So according to those 175 IDs, it has taken the correct output. Now beyond 175, there is no data. That is why this is showing you hash NA. So the meaning of a hash NA is there is no matching value, which is fine because that data, those IDs are not available on that sheet. This is how we perform VLOOKUP. After this training program, this Excel file, I will mail it to you so that you can always open this Excel file. You can see how the which formulas and functions we have applied where, and how we have taken the reference sheet. So everything you will be able to see, and all the formulas you can always see on the formula bar. Now what next I need is I need a growth. Growth is current year minus last year divide by last year. So I'll get a growth. So let me do that is equal to current year, which is J2, minus last year, which is N2, divide by last year N2. 113. No. What I have to do is first I want this minus. So let me put this in a bracket so that first it should calculate the value of the bracket, which is current year minus last year. Now whatever the value I'll get, that I have to divide by the last year. Now you can see here growth is negative growth minus 0.16. Why negative? 18, 19, 136. Current year performance has gone down. And now if I'll copy this down, you can see a growth for all with a positive or a negative. And here also, I can set that number of decimal values to be 2 decimal values. Let me save this. So now this is a negative growth, 0.16. 0.2 is a positive, 0.5 is also a positive. And you can see lot somewhere positive number, somewhere negative number. 0.33. Now 0.11 is also a positive, 0.33 is positive, 0.22 is also positive, right? Do we have a growth somewhere? Now at the bottom you can see a hash NA because there is no matching value for the last year, so their growth will be a hash NA only. Now what I want here, wherever we have a negative performance, wherever we have a negative growth, so I want a down arrow here. Wherever we have a positive performance, I want an up arrow, so that on the basis of those arrows I can decide where we have a positive growth and where we have a negative growth. For this, let me select this data. Let me go to home tab. we have a feature called conditional formatting. I'll go to conditional formatting. Let me go to icon sets. You can see here these three arrows. But I want to define that, where I want up arrow, where I want a down arrow. And we also have this yellow arrow. So, in case you want to show some same performance kind of a thing, so then you can also use a middle arrow. But I'll not choose it from here. I'll go to more rules so that, I can define how I want a up arrow and how I want a down arrow. So conditional formatting, icon sets, I'll go to more rules. Now here you can see icon style. Now if you want, you can use these circles, or instead of circle, what we need is we need these arrows. Now how you want to show these arrows? This is showing me percent. Instead of percent, I want it on the basis of a number. And up arrow. Up arrow I want when the value is more than 0, which is fine. This down arrow I want when it's less than 0. But we also have a straight line. So let me do one thing. A straight line should be for all those where the value is more than 0 but less than 0.5. And in case the value is more than 0.5, then I want this. So when the value is greater than equal to 0.5, then I want up arrow. If it's less than 0.5 but more than 0, I want the straight line. And when the value is less than 0, I want down. Which means whenever we have a negative performance, I want this. Now, whenever we have a positive performance, within positive performance, if the performance is more than 0 but less than 0.5, I want this straight line. But if the value is more than 0.5, then I want a up arrow. So I'll click on OK. And now if I go up, you can see here, this is going down. It's a negative performance. 0.2, because this is positive but less than 0.5. So you can see straight line. The moment you exceed 0.5, now you will be having a up arrow. So you can always, use a conditional formatting to put, certain kind of a formatting along with the data. If you really want to see a very good impact of it, what I'll suggest you, select the data, but don't select the hash NA values. So select the remaining data and now do a sorting of a data. Data tab, go to sort, do a sorting on growth and keep it in the order of largest to smallest. And now see, at the bottom you have all the down arrows. Above to that you can see all the straight lines, and above to that at the top you can see the top performers, which is highest is 1.17, and the values which are more than 0.5, they all are showing you up arrow. So on this sheet we have successfully applied sum function, average, if function, multiple if function, VLOOKUP, and then we have calculated the growth, and then we have highlighted that growth by using a feature called conditional formatting. Once we have done it, what I want here, I want the analysis of my data. I've applied a lot of formulas and functions. I want to see an analysis of my data, which means I want to see how many students are pass and how many students are fail. Which are those pass students? Which are those fail students? How many students have got A plus rating and which are those A plus? How many of them have got A rating? How many of them have got B plus rating? How many of them have a positive performance? How many of them have a negative performance? Or we have a data of 213 students. I want to see how many students are there for whom we do not have a matching data on the reference sheet. Or I want to see how many students are there. So this data we have it for Pan India. I want to see the data only of a Delhi region. So how many students are there who belong to only Delhi? So what I need is now I need, once we have applied all these functions, conditional formatting, what I need is I need a deep analysis of my data. And whenever we talk about deep analysis, we have a feature called pivot table. We have a feature called pivot table. To do that, let me select my entire data, Control A. Then I can go to Insert tab, and on the Insert tab, we have a feature called pivot table. Let me click on pivot table. You can see here, this has automatically highlighted the complete data, which is a correct range, and where you want to put the pivot table report. We want to have it on a new sheet. Click on OK. Excel will add a new sheet for you, and you can see you have got a sheet called sheet 1. Let me rename this sheet. I'll give a name to this sheet called pivot. So on this sheet called pivot, you can see here you have got this pivot table. The moment you click on a pivot, on the right hand side, you will be able to see a pivot table fields. And these are the same fields which were there in your data, right? So those field headings is what you have as a pivot fields. And here you have these 4 areas: filter area, row area, column area, and a value area. What we have to do is we have to simply drag these fields and we have to drop them in different areas of the pivot table depending upon how we want to do a analysis of the data. If you are learning pivot for the first time, what I'll suggest you, you may right click on the pivot, go to pivot table options, go to display, and here we have an option called classic pivot table layout. You can always select this option. Just click on OK and it will change the layout of the pivot table. And here you can see which is a row area. So when we are saying row, which is a row area, this is a row area. Value, this is a value area. Column is this area and filter is this area. So if you want to see where you have these sections, you can always use the classic pivot table layout. And now what I have to do, as I told you, I have to simply drag this field and I have to drop them in different areas of the pivot depending upon how we want to see the data. Let's say I want to see all the students and their current year performance. I want to see only two things. One is the student IDs and second is how much they have scored in the current year. Which means which two field I need? Student ID and 1920 data. So let me do one thing. Let me drag the student ID from here and let me drop it to the row area. So in the row area, you can see all the student IDs. Now against the student ID, we want to see how much they have scored in the current year. So that is that value which we would like to see against the student ID. So the data for 1920 will go to which area? That will go to value area. And now you can see a pivot, the student ID and their total scores. And at the bottom, this is also showing you the total sum of it. That is why when you have drop a value here, you can see this is showing you sum of 1920. So this is why this is automatically showing you the sum of it. Now, as of now, the student ID is available in the row area. If you want, you can also drag the student ID from the row and you may bring it to the column. But if you do that, what will be the difference? The difference is whether you want a horizontal view or you want a vertical view. I think the previous one was a better option. So let me bring the student ID back to the row area. Now with the current year value, I would also like to see what is their average. Sorry, what is the growth? That means in the value area, I want to include one more field, which is performance or the growth. So let me also bring growth in the value area, but this is showing you count of that by default, right? So I do not want to see a count. What will I do? I'll go here. This is showing you count of growth. Let me go to this, go to value field settings, and you may change the function from count to sum, and now you can see their growth as well. If you do not want any of these fields, you may simply uncheck that and that field will be removed. So total we have 213 students. Now I want to see out of these students, when I can see their current year score, I want to see which students are pass and which students are fail. That means this data I want to further segregate on the basis of the status, right? So I also want to bring status in my pivot table. We have a status here. We already have a student ID in the row. So let me bring status to the column, and you can see the data has been further split on the basis of fail and pass, and this is their total scores. And now you can see here their performance, and this is a total. So now this is showing you the total sum of it. In fact, instead of seeing a total, I would have preferred, if it would have shown me how many students are passed, how many students are fail, and total how many students we have. Which means instead of seeing a sum, I would like to see a count. To do that, in the value area, this is showing me sum of 1920. I'll go here, I'll go to value field settings, and let me change it back to count. And now you can see 119 students are pass, 94 students are fail, and total 213 students. And which are those 119? You can see here, wherever you have the 1 in the first column, they all are pass, and wherever you have a 1 in the second column, they all are failed. So this is the data. Sorry, first you have a data of a fail. So 119 students are failed, and the students who are pass is coming in the second column. So 94 students are passed, 119 students are failed, and total we have 213 students. So when I say 94 students are passed, so this pass students, they may have a rating A, they may have a rating A plus, or they may have a rating called B plus. Similarly, when I say students are failed, 119, they may have scored C rating or they may have scored B rating. So I want to see within pass what is the ratings, and within fail what is the rating. Which one more column I would like to include now? Rating. And this rating I would like to see within fail, within pass. So which means this rating will also come in the same area where we have a status, and I want to bring this rating under the status. Let me do that, and now you can see fail, fail total, this is showing you B. Now why this is not showing me C in a fail? Because that means there is no such data in your available, that means there is no such data available, which means there is not even a single student who has scored C. All of those students have scored minimum B, even though they are failed. That means what is the minimum value for the B? B is more than 50. So everyone has scored more than 50, and they're still failed. So B is what they have achieved, which means they have scored between 50 to 120. Now when I say pass, so more than 120 are pass, but B plus is for those which have scored 120 to 150. A is for those who have scored between 150 to 175, and A plus are those which have scored more than 175, right? So here you can see a pass total, grand total. Now when I go here, now you can see 94 students are pass, out of which one has scored A plus, 12 have scored A, and 81 have scored B plus. And total student pass are 94. Total students are 213, and 119 are failed, and they all belong to B. So why I am using a pivot table? Because pivot table is helping me in doing that deep analysis of my data. And now when you see these totals, you know, so 119 students are failed. These are the totals. You can always, double click on these numbers. The moment you do a double click, Excel will immediately create a new sheet for you and will show you the complete data for that particular total. So these are those students who are failed and have scored B rating. You can see here, they all are failed and have scored B rating. And how many such students we have? 119. So let me rename this sheet so that I'll keep a track of these students and I'll give them failed with B rating. I'll come back to my pivot. Now 119 students are passed. Sorry, 94 students are passed, but out of which 81 have got the highest rating, which is B plus. So let me double click on 81, and these are those pass students with B plus rating. I'll rename pass with B plus rating. Come back to pivot. I also want to keep a track of this one student who is passed with the highest rating, which is A plus. So let me say pass with highest rating. Let me go back to my pivot. As of now, if you see here, you have multiple field into a single area. So in the column area, you also have pass, fail, and the ratings. What else I can do is this ratings which we have, that these ratings I can bring it in the row. So what will the advantage of that? Now you can see in the column you have only fail and pass, and you can see which rating they belong to. Or if you do not want this, you may take it back, and instead of ratings you may bring status here. So now you can see which student is fail and which student is pass. But what I'll suggest you, you have two things into a two field into a single area. What I'll suggest you, you bring status above to student ID. The moment you do that, now you can see these all are the failed students. These are their student ID, and you can see here they all are coming with which rating? B rating. Now when I go down, these all are failed students. They all are right. So 119 students are failed. They all belong to B plus. Now here, what we have, this is the data for the past students. And now you can see which rating they belong to. And now 94 students are passed, 81 belong to B plus, 12 belong to A, 1 belong to A plus, and then you can also see the grand total of it. Now this entire data which we have, this belong to Pan India data. So we also have a field in our data which is called locations. Let me bring location to the filter area. Now filter area is at the top. Here you can see location is all. Now here we have option of a filter. Let me say select multiple items. And I want to see the data only of NCR region. So I'll uncheck select all and I'll select Delhi, Gurgaon and Noida. And now you can see the data only of a NCR region. In NCR again, with how many students are pass, how many students are fail, how many ratings, how much, which rating they belong to, everything you can see here. So this is a NCR data. In NCR, 63 students are fail, and in NCR, 40 students are pass. And that A plus rating which we have, who belong to A plus, who is pass, also belong to NCR. So now if I want to keep a track of these 40 students of NCR who are passed, let me double click on this 40. I've got the sheet. Let me rename this sheet NCR pass students. Not only filter, you can apply it on the filter area. You can also apply filter. Let's say here, you do not want to see the data for all the ratings. You want to see the data only of a selective ratings. Or you want to see the data only of a past student. You do not want to see the data of all. So you have that filter available here as well. So if I come back to my data now, A plus is at the top. What is the student ID? 82. What is the name? Ishana, Delhi, right? What is the growth? 1.17. Now, if I make any changes to the data, for example, here 37, if I change this number to 48, current year total has gone to 189, and the performance is now 1.30, right? But the changes which you are doing it here, pivot table will not automatically get update. So you always have to, right click on the pivot and go to the option of a refresh, and then the data will get refresh. So pivot automatically doesn't update its own data. You always have to do a refresh of that. And this is how you can always do a deep analysis of the data. Any doubts if you have, you are free to ask me. How's the session going on? I can see we have 58 participants, which is a good count. I got a message from Ritu. Sir, kindly provide the recording of a session. It will be a great help. Ritu, I understand, but as per the company policy, will not be able to share the recording of the session, and we are deliberately not doing a recording of it. But this Excel file, which on which we are showing you the real implementation of everything, we will definitely mail this Excel file to you, and I'm sure that will by that you'll be able to do a recap of everything. All right, so I'll go back to my Excel sheet now. Just give me a minute. I'll bring a glass of water and then I'll continue. Just give me a minute. So I'm back now, and let me start again. Tanya's session is not completed. We still have the features remaining, and I'm showing you those features now. Let me go back to my Excel again. I hope you all can see my Excel file. Can one of you send me a message? Yes. Okay. I got so many yes now. Thank you. Um, so what I want here, after doing that deep analysis, you know that the data is already sorted on the basis of a growth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the top 5 students who have shown the highest growth, right? So these top 5 students, these are the toppers of the college, and their data I would like to show in a graphical form. So I would like to show the I would like to show the student IDs and their growth. So let me do one thing. Let me select the student IDs, and I will also select the header row so that I can also select the heading. So I'll select my data A1 to A6. That means the heading and the top 5 student IDs. With this, what else I want to show is, let's say I want to show, instead of a growth, I want to show the 1920 data and their 1819 data. So with the control key, because the data is not continuously stored, so let me press control key. Now I'll select 1920 data, which is J1 to J6, and with the control key, I'll also select N1 to N6, which means the current year as well as the last year. Once we have selected this data, I can go to Insert tab, and on the Insert tab, you can see we have variety of charts. Initially, I would like to go for a column chart where I can show a comparison between their current year performance as well as the last year performance. So I'll go to column chart, and let me make a two-dimensional column chart. You can see you have got this chart which is there on the same data. Let me do one thing. Let me, create a new sheet for this chart. So by default, we are on a data sheet. Let me press Shift F11 to add a new sheet. Shift F11. Wait a minute. Shift F11. Yes. So I've got a new sheet here. Let me rename this sheet. Let me give a name called chart. And now let me go back to my data where we already have this chart. Right click on the chart, go to move chart, and you can see here object in this is showing you the current sheet. I want to move this on a sheet called chart, which I've just created. Okay. Now you can see the chart has been moved from data sheet to chart sheet. Let me drag it here. Let me keep it here in the top left corner. So this is a column chart which Excel has made. In this column chart, because this is a column chart, so the horizontal line is called x-axis and the vertical line is called y-axis. What we have on x-axis, we have the student IDs. What we have on the y-axis, we have their scores. And you can see for each student, there are two different columns, two different colors, blue and red. And at the bottom, you can see a legend, which is showing you that blue color is for 1920 and red color is for 18 to 19. And I'm sure, their current year performance have gone up. That is why, these are the top 5 students. So here we have an option of a chart title. Let me click inside the title. And here, let me delete this text, and here I'll type college toppers. Now, when I select this chart, I'm getting a plus sign here where I can see a lot of chart elements. And when I click on the chart, I also get two more tabs at the top: chart design and format. Now, in some of the Excel versions, you may not be able to see a plus sign. So if you're not getting a plus sign, then in that case, instead of a two tabs at the top, you will get three tabs. One will be the design, second one will be the layout, and third one will be the format. So whatever the chart elements we have it here on the plus sign, on some of the system, it will be available on the layout tab between the design and format. That means the features will be there, but depending upon version to version, either these option may be on the layout tab or they are available on the plus sign. Now, once I have defined the chart title, if you want, you can also define what you have on x-axis and what you have on a y-axis. For that, let me go to plus sign. This is a chart title. Here we also have axis title. And let me go to axis title. I can I can define whether I want a, axis title for the horizontal axis or for vertical or for both. So initially I'll go for a horizontal axis. Now you can see a horizontal axis title here. Let me click inside this and let me rename this to student IDs. Similarly, if you want, you can also give a heading for y-axis. Now at the bottom, this is called a legend, which is showing you what is the meaning of these colors. As of now, this legend is at the bottom. So I'll go to the plus sign. Let me go to legend, and legend, let me keep it at the top. So now at the top, you can see a legend, and at the bottom, you can see a student IDs. In case you also want to show how much they have scored, what is their performance. So we have an option called data labels. And when I go to data labels, that means I want to show this data and where you want to show it. Maybe in the center of the column, inside end, inside base. Let me take outside end, and at the outside of each column, you can show their data. In the background of the chart, you can see some horizontal lines. These horizontal lines are called grid lines. And as of now, we have a horizontal grid lines. If you want, you can also turn on vertical grid lines. For that, let me go to grid lines, and now let me click on primary major vertical grid lines. So now you can see a vertical grid lines. If you want, you can also fill lot of inner grid lines, and for that you can click on minor grid lines. So now you will be able to see lot of grid lines. And now if I look at my data, I think the minimum number here is 69. But here the scale is starting from 0. So from 0 to 50, we do not have anything to show. So what I can do is, instead of starting my scale from 0, I can start it from 50, so that I can see, a depth in my chart. For that, let me right click on any of these numbers, go to format axis, and here you can see minimum is 0. Let me set this minimum number to 50. And now you can see the scale is starting from 50, and now this is 82. So this is how you can make a chart. And let me do one thing. We also have a chart design, and I can choose a different design for the chart. But let me do one thing. Let me simply copy the chart, and I'll paste this chart here. The same chart has been pasted. Now I'll change the design so that you can see original design as well as the different designs. So you can also go to this one, which is the horizontal ones. If you want, you can again copy. Sorry. Now let me copy this. I'll paste here. This is a chart. go to design, and now I may even switch to a different design. Let me paste one more time. Same chart has been pasted. Now instead of changing a chart design, let me go to chart design and let me change the chart type. So this is a column chart. Now within a column, we have multiple column chart. So this was a clustered column. Let me choose stacked column. So what is the advantage of choosing a stacked column? So both the data will come on a single column. So you can decide whether you want a segregation or you want this kind of a stacked column. I'll copy this. Let me paste it here again. If I say after pasting it, instead of showing this in the form of a column, I want to show the data in the form of a row. That means I need a bar chart. So what will I do? I'll again go to chart design, change chart type, and now I'll go to bar chart. And now either you can put the information in a single bar or you can put it in a multiple bars. Let me again paste. But now instead of showing a bar or column, I want to show this data in the form of a two different lines. So one line is showing for the current year and second line is there for the last year. That means now I need a line chart. For that, again I'll go to chart design, change chart type, and now let me go to line chart. Let me choose a line. This is a line chart wherein the blue color is for the current year and red color is for the last year. So if you want, you can always go back to the data sheet. You can always keep selecting the different data and you can keep making different charts. Or, you can make one chart, you can change, copy the chart, and then, you can keep changing the chart type. And this chart, let me copy it again. And now let me open PowerPoint. I'm opening PowerPoint. Give me a minute. I'm opening a PowerPoint now. So now you can see a chart here. And I want to paste that chart here. But what I want, when I paste the chart here, I want to keep a link with my Excel sheet so that if I make any changes to the Excel, the chart in PowerPoint should also get changed. For that, for that, instead of a simple paste, go to Home tab. Under the paste, go to Paste Special. And in the Paste Special, choose Paste Link. Paste link, click on OK. Let me change the layout or a blank layout. The chart has been pasted here and this chart is linked to my Excel chart, which means if I make any changes to the Excel, the changes to the PowerPoint will automatically get updated. Let me show you. Let me go back to my Excel file. Let me go back to my Excel file. Now see here, this Excel file, what is the performance of the topper for the current year? This is showing you how much. I can see it on any of the chart. 189, right? For the current year. Everywhere this is 189. Let me go to the data. This is a 189 because these are the performance. Now, if I change this 48 to 38, perform current year is gone to 179. If I see the chart in Excel, everywhere you can see this is 179 now, right? 179, 179. But now I have to see whether this 179 has been there in PowerPoint or not, because we use that option called paste special paste link, right? So that is link. So let me stop this Excel file sharing and let me go to my PowerPoint. Where is my PowerPoint? You can see here, this is by default 179. So the moment you make any changes to the Excel, that will automatically get updated to PowerPoint. That is the advantage when you use the option called paste special paste link. And in this PowerPoint only, the first slide, this was the agenda. So first topic was Excel functions. So I hope you remember we started with the sum function. Then we have seen average, if function, multiple if function, and then we have covered VLOOKUP. Once we applied these functions, then we covered this feature called conditional formatting, by which we got those arrow keys. Later on, we analyzed that data using a deep pivot table. Few minutes back, we have made a graphical representation, which is the charts. And now you have also seen how you can link the charts with PowerPoint. So here we have taken, I think, 1.5 hours to finish this agenda. So these were the topics which were planned for today. Now, you are free to ask any question. If you have any doubts, you are free to ask a question.
Dear Jatin Shukla ji, वेरी वेरी थैंक यू। आपने बताया सर, ये जो आपने फॉर्मूला जो वगैरह बताए हैं, ये गूगल शीट्स पे भी काम करेंगे?
सर हर चीज का मैं आपको श्योरिटी नहीं दे सकता, बट जो बेसिक फंक्शंस हैं, ये जो मैंने आपको सम फंक्शन इफ फंक्शन बताए हैं, इनमें से बहुत सारे फंक्शन आपको गूगल शीट पे चलते हुए मिल जाएंगे। लेकिन जितनी भी फंक्शनैलिटी हमने आपको दिखाई है, ये सारी की सारी गूगल शीट पे चलेगी या नहीं चलेगी, इसकी मैं आपको श्योरिटी नहीं दे सकता।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
Tanya Mittal, can you again repeat the VLOOKUP? Why not? So let me open that Excel file again. I'll show you how I have done that. So I hope you all can see my Excel file and data sheet where we have applied this VLOOKUP. So on the data sheet, you know that you have the student IDs. What we want is we want to search the student IDs. Where we want to search it? On the reference sheet. Where? In this table, which is starting from J column till O column. And because we want to search student ID, so I told you that VLOOKUP always search those data only in the first column of the table. So you have to ensure that the value which you are searching, that value should be there in the first column. And second thing which I told you is the output column should always be on the right hand side. It should never be on the left hand side. So once we have said this, then what we did, we were trying to search this student ID, which is cell number A2. So for that, what we did, where we have this 1819 data, let me delete this 82 from here, is equal to VLOOKUP. First is lookup value, which you want to search, which is a student ID. So that student ID, we have it here On the left hand side, the cell number is A2. Then I can click on the formula bar, comma. Second is table array, that entire table, which is available on the reference sheet. So I'll go to reference sheet, and now I can select this entire table, which is a table array, comma, column index number, which is the output column number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is column number 6, comma. We want exact match because we want that whatever the value we have as a student ID in cell number A2, that should get exactly matched with the same student ID. So whenever we work on a unique data, we always go for false, which is exact match. Now press enter and you will get the correct output, which is 82. Okay. Tanya, is it clear? Okay. Another question from Simran. Sir, please tell us again how to link chart with PPT. Okay. Uh, this time let me open. This time let me open what? PowerPoint? No, Excel only. And here I was looking for a chart. I'll go to chart sheet. You can copy any of the chart. After copying this, go to PowerPoint and wait a minute. Again present, window, PowerPoint. So I hope you all can see my PowerPoint now. I'll add a new slide here. This is a new slide. If you want, you can change the layout of the slide. And now when you're ready to paste, generally what we do, we just press Control C and Control V, but do not press Control V. I do not want a simple paste. I want that linkage part. For that, go to Home tab. Under the paste, go to Paste Special, and now take the option called Paste Link. And now the chart has been pasted with a link. And now if you want, you may increase the size of the chart. Now whatever the changes you will make it to the Excel, that will automatically get updated to PowerPoint. Chandrakant, sir, how to lock certain cells for non-editing, like some average value? Now for this, Chandrakant, there's an option called Protect Sheet. This is something, an out of content, but I'll quickly try to tell you this one. Let me go to my Excel window again. Let's say I'll go to my data sheet. Now here you want that, this should get locked. So one option is you just go to Review tab and you have an option called Protect Sheet. And the entire sheet will become a read-only sheet. You will not be able to make any changes to the Excel sheet. But we do not want that. What we want is only those cells where we have a formula like the sum, average, if function, ratings 18, 19, and this growth. Only this data should get locked and rest of the sheet should remain unlocked. So whenever we use this option called protect sheet, what Excel does is Excel try to lock all the cells and the entire sheet becomes a read only sheet. So before protecting this, you want that everything should remain locked, but these everything should remain unlocked, but only these cells should remain locked. So let me click here. Now when I click here, the entire sheet will get selected. Now I'll right click on the sheet, go to format cells, go to protection, and now you can see by default everything is locked. Let me uncheck this option, which means now all the cells will remain unlocked, which means people can make the changes to the entire sheet. But now what will I do is I will lock only those cells where we have a formula which is starting from J2 till O2 and then shift control down. So this is that range which I want to keep lock. So now only on this range, I'll say right click, format cells, and now I'll lock only this particular range. Once I have done this, now I'll go to review, protect sheet. Now I'll set up password to unprotect. Now the sheet has been protected. Now, if you see here, this data, the names and everything you can change, which is fine. But the moment you come to this, and you can also change this, semester wise scores. But the total one, which is 126, can I delete this? No, I cannot. Can I delete this pass? No. Can I make any changes to this range? No. Because only this range is locked. So it depends upon you which range you want to keep it locked. That is what you can specify before protecting the sheet. Rachna, before coming to that, you got the answer, Chandrakant. Okay. Rachna, sir, where can we find the formulas used for average rating comparison, etc.? Where can we find the formula means? I didn't get you. Can you elaborate your question, Rachna? Rachna has left the meeting. Reference sheet you have made earlier.
Sir, I have rejoined.
Okay. So, Rachna, what is your question? Can you elaborate your question?
Yes, sir.
Please repeat your question.
Hello. Sir, can
Yes,
you hear me?
Rachna. Yes, now I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, Rachna, I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. Sir, my question is that the formulas used by you to find average sum, like you have put somewhere commas, brackets. Sir, we have to keep in mind always, or we can find somewhere these formulas.
So these formulas are available in the Google, sorry, these formulas are available in the Excel help also. For example, whenever you open a Excel, let me show you again. Um, Share now my Excel window. So if I just go to a new sheet here, let's say here you have a new sheet, you always have an option of a help at the top. Just go to help and just go to this help option. Now here you can type any of the, let's say function name is sum function. Just press enter and you will get, it is asking you whether you're looking for auto sum function or user sum function. So this is showing you, and you can always, scroll it down. You can see this is a sum function. Use the sum function to sum range in a range. Click on this, and now this will show you now. See, this is showing you how you can use sum function is equal to sum of range of A2 to A6, or you can also write is equal to this plus this cell. So this is showing you with a complete, examples how to use those functions. So not only sum, you can search it for any Excel function, any Excel feature.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Avnish, hello sir. Can we paste a table in a PPT like chart pasting? Why not? You can paste anything. It may be a table, it may be a chart, it may be a picture, it may be anything. You can always say copy, and you can do a simple paste, or you can always use the option called paste special paste link, so that it should remain linked with your Excel file. So you have both the options.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So now when you have asked me a lot of things, now it's a time for me to ask you something. Um, we have shown you a lot of Excel functions, lot of Excel features. Give me any one key takeaway of this training program. So you have learned a lot of things, maybe any pivot table or a chart or any Excel function. We have tried to show you a lot of things. Use your chat window and send me one key takeaway of this training program. I'll wait for your key takeaways. So I'm not looking for a feedback. What I'm looking for is a key takeaway of this training program. Use your chat window and send a key takeaway. I'll wait for you. So I can see pivot tables and interlink with the PPT, pivot tables, ratings, deep analysis of data, helpful in maintaining data and comparison to check the growth, how to link the charts with PPT, pivot table for a deep analysis of the rating scale will help me in keeping the record of assessment together with different colors. So you can see, I can also see, a lot of key takeaways. Thank you everyone for sharing me your key takeaways. Um, Thank you. Anyway, I hope you already have, received a feedback form, and will appreciate if you can fill the feedback form so that that will also help us in, analyzing our training program. So maybe, we can also make a pivot table, out of that feedback which we'll get. Before winding up this session, may I request everyone to, okay, um, now I can see all my participants. Let me close this. May I request everyone to please turn on the camera for a minute? You all have seen your trainer, and trainer also want to see all its participants. I understand we most of you may be doing a work from home, which is absolutely fine. And I can see a lot of participants. 53 participants is what I can see. May I request everyone to please turn on the camera? But in one screen, I can see limited participants. How to go to the other participants? Can I see all the participants simultaneously? Do we have that option in Google Meet?
Yes, sir.
How
There is a grid extension option where we can find all the participants, but you have
which
to download the grid extension.
okay.
हाँ सर, अगर
So
लैपटॉप एक्सटेंशन है तो मल्टीपल्स दिख जाएंगे आपको. और if you're using the mobile phone, you can scroll the phone
so
screen.
I'm using a laptop.
या सर, लैपटॉप पे ग्रिड एक्सटेंशन डाउनलोड करना पड़ता है. After that, we can find everything.
Now if I say change layout, तो layout
Yeah.
में कुछ फायदा नहीं हो रहा.
No,
वो
no, sir.
tile is
Change layout is just a screen view.
okay.
Sir, in the Google search bar, type grid extension and
Okay.
download it by
Grid
clicking on the
extension.
add extension.
Okay. Grid extension.
Yeah.
So Google Meet grid view.
Yeah, sir. By the gridding view, you can find everyone.
Okay. I'll say add to Chrome.
Yeah, sir. वहाँ पर 3-4 options हैं. आप एक बार
Right.
देख लीजिए. Actually, I am using the mobile phone today.
Okay. Now this is showing me this has been added to your Chrome. Use this extension by clicking on this icon. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it has been added, कहाँ पे add हुआ है ये? Chrome पे. If I go here, extensions. If I go to extension, this one, okay. Pin extension, more extension. Google can get view this, can read and change the site. Okay. And now when I click on it, क्या हुआ? मुझे तो कुछ नजर नहीं आया ऐसा. Grid view is I cannot see कुछ फर्क तो नहीं पड़ा.
Grid extension सबको एक साथ देखना है. सर एक्चुअली इट मे बी पॉसिबल कि सभी ने अपना वीडियो ऑन नहीं किया हो. इफ द वीडियो इज नॉट ऑन देन ओनली नेम विल अपीयर ऑन द स्क्रीन. इफ एवरीवन शेयर देयर विंडो, उनको भी पार्टिसिपेंट को भी अपने सभी को वीडियो ओपन करने पड़ेंगे. तो हम
ओके, कोई बात नहीं,
देखेंगे
एक काम करते हैं,
ऑन द राउंड टेबल. या
एक काम
सर.
करते हैं, लेट्स क्लिक अ फोटोग्राफ विद ऑल ऑफ यू.
या सर.
Just keep smiling like this.
Sir, you can take the screenshot of the window. Otherwise, I have recorded the meeting. I will send you.
I have successfully captured one screenshot, and this is done. Before we wrap up, one more thing which I would like to share. I'm always there on LinkedIn. So in case you are on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. We can even connect on LinkedIn, and I'll just share my LinkedIn ID with you all.
देखो बोलना है ना.
So I'm sending my LinkedIn ID by using a chat window. I hope you can see that. I hope you have got my LinkedIn ID. In case you are connected with me on LinkedIn, please send me a LinkedIn request. And this picture also, will put it on the website and the LinkedIn. And if you would like to know more about our company, productivity experts, you are free to most welcome to refer to our website, which is peservices.biz.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now I
Thank you.
invite Dean sir to say a few words regarding the session. Dean sir.
Hello. Yes. Thank you so much. Can you mute your Bachelor Sujevaji? Yeah. Hello, Jatin. Very good to hear you about this. And even then, I remember 1998 when first time I learned MS Excel in your Smartwest IIT. So the things are about this. So that's the please mute. Yeah. Thank you. So, well, thank you very much, all participants. All our sincere participants are today with us, and I hope you will be get the good information which is very effective to making your annual, monthly, or quarterly report for your schools. And once we show the presentation to our CBSE board or AICT or UGC during the inspection, these MS Excel sheet is very helpful for us to making the entire thing. And I'm very happy to see that the link you can connect from your MS Excel to PowerPoint. Definitely, here I'm able to see the age no bar. Everyone is ready to learn. This is the gift from COVID for all of us. So from 10 years to 80 year or maybe more than 80 year, everybody are ready to learn so many things which earlier we don't want to do that. So thank you very much on behalf of each and every participant. I convey my sincere thanks to Jatin Sukhija. And once again, we want a very big session from you. Thank you so much. Thank you all of. Anyone want to share their views or anything else they want from us? So Jatin, you share your MS Excel sheet to my mail ID I given on the chat box, so that I will share to everyone. Thank you so much, Jatin. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I request all the participants, please fill the feedback form because this is important for your certificates, and please fill it very carefully.
Ma'am, where is it? Can you please tell where it is the link for this?
It's it's mentioned in the chat box. Please check the chat box. Where is a link shared by
Ma'am,
the Aruna. अरुणा मैम ने शेयर किया है ये लिंक, आप उसे फिल करिए और प्लीज करेक्टली फिल करिएगा बिकॉज इट्स लिमिटेड टू वन टाइम ओनली.
ma'am, actually there are so many messages.
Ma'am, can you
We
please
are
send
not
the ma'am?
able to
There are so
find.
many links, so can you please just
Okay, we
send
are
that link again?
again sending the message,
Okay, thank you.
but save it with you and fill fast. Automatically your certificate will be generated within few minutes. uh, just a minute.
Yeah.
Participant, we share the link again. It's shared by the Ashwini sir, Sandeep sir and Aruna ma'am. Please fill it, and thank you so much.